Hey everyone, it's Felix Fletcher here with my top 10 tips for new players of Project Gorgon. Tip number one is going to be to get some tools. The first is a skinning knife that allow you to get hides that you can either sell or use for leatherworking. Another one is the organ knife, which is for butchering. It'll get you meats that you can use for cooking. Since I'm a necromancer, I also have a skull extractor that'll allow me to take skulls from corpses, which is useful for gardening as well as necromancy. And then a handsaw, which will let you pick up wood. Wood is useful for carpentry. So you want to get these as soon as possible so you can start raising those skills. Tip number two is to choose two main combat skills, and stick with them. I chose fire and necromancy. You want to do this because it costs money to raise skills beyond 50. It starts at 20k and then goes to 50k. And then from 70 to 80, it's 380k, which I haven't even done for necromancy yet, just fire magic. So skills get pretty expensive. Also, you have to invest in certain kinds of armor to make your skills worth using. So even though I have ice magic here, it sucks because I don't have armor for ice magic. And I don't want to spend 380k to raise that as high as my fire magic. So I recommend just choosing two combat skills and sticking with those. Alright, tip number three is to get a skill called Industry. This is a good way for you to make money in the game. Now, I waited a long time to even get Industry, and I wondered why I couldn't make money. This is why. Industry allows you to create items or find items and then turn them in for money. Mine's 60 right now. I could raise it some more. It's super easy to raise, and you want to do it just because you can't use the higher work orders until you have some skill. Here's the work orders in the casino. As you can see, there's some there that you can pick up. The dyes are really worthwhile, as well as any of the food ones. There's work order boards in certain cities like Servial, the casino, Rahu, El Mari Desert. So you want to know where all of those are and which ones will best serve you and your the trade skills that you have. Don't miss out on Industry. Alright, tip number four is to collect bottles. I recommend having about up to 50 empty bottles at a time. These are useful for gardening, which is great for cooking. The more bottles you have, the better, actually. Sometimes people will sell their bottles and then you can buy them for 20 councils, which is really nice. Or you can buy potions that cost less than 100, because that's how much a bottle of water costs, is 100 councils. And you can just fill it up at this trough here. The casino is a great place to garden because look, I can just run here and start planting stuff. Unfortunately, bottles are used up in certain alchemy recipes and you can't get them back, and certain cheese making recipes that fills the bottles with whey. So you always want to keep collecting bottles. Like I said, I recommend having about 50 on hand just for any gardening or other things you might need them for, like alchemy. Alright, tip number five is to get Teleportation and raise it at least to 26, because that's where you get the secondary bind skills. Unfortunately, you're probably going to want to have Surveying for Teleportation because it takes certain kinds of gems. And even right now, amethysts are the main one that gets you around. Aquamarine is the secondary one that you can't get till 26, and it uses 2 gems, which is why I never have any. And then you also want Fire Dust for teleportation a little bit, and green gems like Malachite to help get you around. You're also going to want to get a Mushroom Bind spell. That's extremely important, so that you can use mushroom circles. Now, to unlock that, you have to gain favor with a certain NPC, and I'd recommend doing that as soon as possible because you can't learn any of these mushroom scrolls until you actually unlock the bind spell. It's pretty easy to do. I recommend getting favor with that NPC as soon as possible. It's in a difficult place to get to in one of the caves in Gazlux, so bring some friends. As far as that, the other teleportation skills are learned on the Western Ice Flows. There's an NPC there by a tent. Gain favor with him as soon as possible. He takes magic rings, which is a super easy way. Just find some high-level magic rings and take them to him. You definitely want to do that as soon as possible so you can unlock all the teleportation skills that allow you to warp around the world with ease. Alright, tip number 6 is to get a skill called Transmutation. You can pick this up from Makra in the Elmari Desert. She's kind of out on her own, so you'll want to maybe look at a map to find her. You want to learn this skill as soon as possible because it lets you disenchant armor and weapons into this special substance that will allow you to alter your the spells on your stuff eventually. I never really use it for that yet now because I'm just raising it. But it'll turn it into this stuff that you can either sell or use to alter your equipment. A lot of the recipes are from 30 and below, so you want to start doing that as soon as possible so that you can get the better spells, which is 30 plus. You might need a lot of equipment from the newbie areas just to raise your skill. So I like to keep an eye on what people drop, because sometimes people will drop armor and weapons and stuff that you can just disenchant. It's a bonus for you, it raises your skill. Tip number 7 is to save everything that you find. People will often throw things on the ground that are really useful. Like for example, the main problem is storage space for most people, I'm sure. But if you gain favor with NPCs, you can actually store. So here's my guy that I store all my seeds with. I take every seed that I can because you never know what those are going to be used for in certain work orders. Even things like grass I thought were useful at first can help you raise holistic wellness by making drab dyes, because you'll have to dye things 5 times to raise that. And also later you can sift through grass to get barley seeds. So one of the more useless things I found is maybe feathers. I'm not an archer though, and it's only useful for certain kinds of potions, so I really don't keep more than 99 feathers at a time, but pretty much everything else has a use. Maybe ruby wall fragments is another thing that I don't think has a use, but pretty much everything else in the game has some sort of use, and as soon as you either throw something away or don't pick something up, you're going to need it in this game. That's just how this game works. Alright, tip number 8 is raise favor with NPCs. This is how, not only how you get unlock certain skills, so you'll want to definitely focus on certain NPCs by going to small talk, seeing what they want. Like this guy wants fresh marigolds and lumber, which is kind of an annoying thing to raise favor with him, because those things are kind of rare. But because I have unlocked some favor with him, I'm allowed to store stuff with him. As you can see, this is the casino storage here, where I've raised favor with all the NPCs. Just always have things that you're saving in mind to give to those NPCs to raise your favor with them, and you'll do just fine. I think that's one of the things that's hardest about this game, is knowing how to store all of the stuff, the many items, and raising favor with NPCs is one way to do that. Alright, tip number 9 is to hang out with NPCs. This is a really great thing to do before bed, and since you know you'll be logged out for a long time. Um, Hanging out with people is a certain way to get certain recipes by doing this. Um, let's see, this one takes 2 hours of offline time. So basically you can play the game even when you're not playing the game, and you'll get favor, sometimes items, and sometimes recipes you can only get by hanging out. Now I'm hanging out with this chick in the casino, and after 2 hours of offline time, I'll gain favor with her. So definitely hang out with NPCs anytime you can. Some of them are really useful for getting certain recipes. Alright, tip number 10, my final tip for beginners of Project Gorgon, is to get gardening. You can buy seeds for gardening, and it's really good for cooking. Unfortunately, in this game you have to have a cooking or a food buff going at all times, which means you're definitely going to want to buy cooking recipes and learn how to garden. You can only do 2 vegetables at a time, or 3 flowers or 5 cotton. You always want to carry an instrument around and play the instrument while your stuff is growing. This way you get bonuses and you'll actually get extra items. So definitely always have an instrument on hand. Always have a bunch of bottles. Like right now I have, what, 20 something bottles on me. Luckily these onions I'm doing right now don't take fertilizer, but you also want some sort of fertilizer at all time, which comes from strange dirt, skulls and bones that you've ground up, or you can also do it from rotten meat. which I don't have that one yet, but I'm still hoping to get. So yeah, definitely have gardening, definitely have cooking. Otherwise, you're going to be running around and dying because you're starving, which in this game is a pretty big deal. Alright, well that's my top 10 tips. Thanks for watching. Leave comments if you like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.